Labour leader Keir Starmer confirmed this week that he plans to abolish the charitable status of private schools and invest the money in a national excellence programme for all schools. I'm joined by the Conservative Minister for Learning Stuff. What's your response?
Well, it's basically communism. Jeremy Corbyn would be proud.
Is it possible for you to criticise Labour without mentioning Jeremy Corbyn?
I don't know, let's give it a try.
The Labour Party has said that they want to invest in all children, not just those with parents who can afford high fees.
Do you know who else wanted to do that?
Is it Jeremy Corbyn?
You said it.
But why should private schools be classed as charities?
Because they do a lot of charitable works. They provide this country with most of our top judges and politicians and journalists for a start. That's got to be worth a few quid in the tin.
Isn't it just a tax break for rich people?
Look, private schools are like private healthcare. They allow a few people who are a bit better off to pay for our own special version of something, so we don't have to use up or care about any of the public's version.
Do you think that's fair?
Attacking private schools is just the politics of envy. We worked hard for those inheritances.
But what about equality?
What about it? I mean, they've already dumbed down universities. Apparently now, over half of the people who go to Oxbridge went to a state school. I mean, how is that equality?
But only 7% of people go to private school.
Exactly, there are so few of them and they're so much better, they should simply all get a place.
But if you take a step back, don't private schools just perpetuate a social hierarchy in this country?
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Isn't that just good for people who went to private school, but bad for everyone else?
Not at all. As I've already said, private schools have kindly gifted us some of our greatest leaders.
And all of our worst?
Well, that's a matter of opinion, but they've also given us so much more. I mean, without the inspiration of private schools, we'd have never have had Hogwarts, and that's a real money spinner.
I mean, that's not...
And James Bond, he went to Eton for a bit. And where would we be without him?
Well, yes, but...
And cricket and rugby and rowing? Are you saying you never want us to win anything at the Olympics?
But couldn't you argue that the very existence of private schools means that state schools are never going to have enough attention or funding?
Why not?
Because the people in charge only really care about private schools, because that's where they send their kids.
Well, possibly, but we all know that the best way to improve something is through competition. And without private schools, how would state schools have anything to aspire to?
Thank you, Minister. Next up, as the census reveals that for the first time ever, less than half of the population identifies as Christian, we ask, does that mean that having bishops in Parliament is now ridiculous? Or was that really always the case?